turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks.
Artlist.io.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of My True Crime Obsession. It's been a while since I've been in the podcast studio doing an episode, but for anyone that's following true crime, yesterday certainly marked a historic milestone in the annals of true crime. Rex Heuermann, the man identified as the infamous Long Island serial killer, appeared in Suffolk County Criminal Courthouse in Riverhead, New York, to plead guilty to 8 counts of murder, with crimes dating as far back as 1993. And it feels only fitting today that I am joined here in the studio by none other than Nick Graystone of the Primal Scream podcast and the band. Your band is Demon Scar?
Demon Scar.
Yeah.
That's right. We're easy listening.
Yeah. Well, for anyone that doesn't know or hasn't followed my podcast, Nick and I first met nearly 3 years ago on the sidewalk in front of Rex Heuermann's home in Massapequa Park. It was Friday, July 14th, 2023, the day that the world first learned that he was a primary suspect. They had a primary suspect had finally been arrested in the List case, and it turned out to be Rex Heuermann. And after years of investigation and anticipation, we finally reached the end of this long, grueling road. Nick and I were both there in that Riverhead courtroom yesterday to witness the moment of Rex Heuermann's finally admitting guilt and brought this this chapter of this case to a close. So, yeah, it was pretty
it was wild
yesterday. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I had gotten to the courthouse at 4:30 in the morning because I knew it was going to be a mob scene yesterday. And there was media already set up outside the courthouse yesterday. There weren't too many spectators yet, and it was early, but I didn't mind being there. And I was there with a friend of mine, Raul Montero, who actually works as a liaison, and he works as a crime victims advocate and works with many of the families affected specifically with this crime, the victims' families. And so I give a shout out to Raul because he's just
nice guy.
He's done so much work on behalf of the victims and their families and advocating for them and bringing them dignity and justice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I spoke to Raul a couple of times.
Yes.
And he it was nice to finally get to meet him.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, he does great work.
Yes.
And I feel like all of us were very emotional yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
Because even though we're not in the circle of being related to any of the victims or to part of Rex's family or whatever, it's just we have so much time invested in this because we've been following the case for so long, and for us to be part of that, and it was just it was bittersweet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have been following this case for many, many years, not as many as some other people. And a shout out to Raul. His website, his podcast is Catch List, and he's just done a tremendous amount of work. But I haven't followed as long as Raul, but I did, start to get involved in this case sometime in the mid-2000s. And I felt the need to be there yesterday. People asked, well, why did you go to court? And I just felt like I needed to be there on behalf of the victims and just to see it through. Sure. Just, for me, it was some sense of closure. I don't know that the victims' families would agree that, they ever get closure. But for me, I had to see the end of this. I had to see it through.
Plus, I feel like this case kind of like pushed us into bringing our shows out.
Yes.
Meeting how we met, that day. I started making these random posts after that, and I saw the interest of people looking at what I had to say about it, and I just felt like it was time, time to talk about it. Where your show, this is really focused around the whole true crime thing. My show and has that little aspect of it, but anytime, like I was talking to Kristen Thorne yesterday. Anytime that any news comes out on this, I'm always reporting about it.
Yes.
It's just like I feel a part of it.
Yes.
That's why I was there.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, yes, obviously the whole true crime thing has been something that I've been into for quite some time now, from most of my life, to be honest with you. My father was in law enforcement, and I just always felt a sense of, fighting for justice. That was something that was instilled in me at a very young age. And, a lot of people, they come from different angles, their interest in true crime.
Sure.
Some people are interested in the killers themselves. Some people are interested in the why. For me, it's always been about the victims, and understanding it from the victim's point of view and putting the focus always on the victims and their families, because people tend to, get into these true crime stories and they forget that this is real people. These are real families. These women, these women were, someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's mother. A lot of these victims had children who were there yesterday in court sobbing for their loved ones.
So you can imagine,
yes.
the closure and the wave of emotions that they're going through today.
Yes. And sometimes people lose sight of that. And then they get caught up in all the details, the grisly details. Some of them feed on that. I know the media sometimes feeds on that, and I find it somewhat disgusting and an exploit of the victims. And I think you need to go back to remembering that this is about real people and real lives and how many lives he has truly affected. I want to talk a little bit about. So I got there early, and it was very cold, and I couldn't feel my fingers yesterday. We're waiting online outside the courthouse, and, I had some time to kill. And I have to give a shout-out. My brother happens to be friends with Boomer Esiason, and so I was able to call into the Boomer and Geo show while I was trying to get warm in my car yesterday. I talked a little bit to Boomer and Geo about, they were so gracious in giving me some time. I'm like, hey, I'm calling from the courthouse, and Rex Heuermann's going to plead guilty today. So thank you to Boomer and Geo for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they're just so gracious. I mean, they're a sports radio network, and they talk, sports radio, but they were able to give me a little bit of time to kind of, put the focus on
it's a big
what's
case.
going on. Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to talk to you about, and I was taken back by this, and I was surprised too when Asa Ellerup showed up with her daughter. I mean, it was a mob scene. At that point, it must have been probably close to like 10:30 in the morning. And for anyone that doesn't know, the courthouse opens up. Actually, they probably got there a little bit earlier.
Earlier than that.
Yes.
It was about 8:30.
Yeah, because the courthouse doesn't open till 9.
Yeah.
And the case, that hearing wasn't going on until 11 o'clock a.m. But they allow you into the courthouse, try to get a seat in court. She and her daughter, Victoria Heuermann, showed up, I guess, around 8:30, and it was like, at that point, there were so many people there online, and it was like a mob scene. It was like everyone turned around. Yeah, everyone rushed them. Like, my heart went out to them because, like...
It felt terrible. Yeah, I was standing right next to them. Like you see the picture up there now.
Yes.
And it wasn't even, like, what blew my mind about it, they made them go through the general population line.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
And I'm so glad they were there with their attorney, Robert Macedonia.
What? He looks like a stand-up guy.
He is. I have to say
he's a character.
You talk about a small world. This case for me has so many 6 degrees of separation. I actually play poker with Robert Macedonia's cousin,
really?
Nick Graystone.
Okay.
So shout out to Nick. Love you, Nick. Robert is always great. I talk with him in the courtroom sometimes, and he's always so good. And he's he really is very good in representing Asa. And
he's doing a good job. And like he actually joked with me because, as you can see in the picture, I'm right next to them, and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, security's here," and I'm like, "No." I'm like, not today, but you know what? I'm like, if you need, I'm more than available for you. And he's like, nah, buddy. And Asa and Victoria actually laughed when I said that. Yes. So I figured, me being me, I was going to say something, and I just didn't know what to say. But I complimented Victoria on her glasses because I'm a man of the shades. I love cool glasses. Yes. And I told her, I'm like, I really dig your sunglasses. Yes. And she said, thank you.
Yeah, she's very from what I've seen her appearances in court, she's always very bohemian type of lifestyle where that's the way she dresses.
Yeah. I mean, she's not like John Ray, but like close.
Oh, yeah. He's another one, please. But, I just like to say, I know there's a lot of people out there who have mixed feelings about Asa, and she did the Peacock special and the Netflix she did the Peacock channel documentary.
50 Cent.
Yeah, I mean, just for the moment, put your feelings aside of whether you like Asa, you don't like Asa, her daughter, whatnot. I mean, I did feel bad for them yesterday because it was scary for me to watch that. Like they had no breathing room. Everyone was just swamping them. And I'm shocked that they were not brought in through a different door just for pure security reasons. Because when I was in when I went to court previously a year or two ago, I remember I had gone into the bathroom during a break, and I think it was during the Fry hearing, and she was in the bathroom. She was there with security. Like, she had to be escorted to the bathroom because, God knows, you got these wackos.
Absolutely. Or even a family member be like, hey, you know what? You killed my sister. I'm going to fuck your daughter up or hit your wife or whatever. Yeah. So it totally could happen.
Yes. Yeah. So it was.
That was the first big thing that I noticed. Like, like going through the main thing, I was like, whoa, this. How do they know? Like, I don't look like the most normal person, and I'm standing out there. Like, why? How can you have me standing next to them? They should have definitely whisked them into like, the line.
Private area.
Yeah,
where they could
totally.
Get in. It's funny because I got there early, so I'm like, this is great. I'm going to get a spot in court and everything. And they had like, they were going by the honor system. Somebody was taking names, of when you showed up at the door.
Yeah, that list didn't last.
Yeah, it sure didn't. I was 10th online. I'm like, woohoo, I'm going to get in. I'm going to sit in the main courtroom. Yeah, no.
I kind of liked where we were because know what? If we were in that other courtroom, we first of all probably wouldn't have heard them as well, and secondly, we would have been staring at the back of their heads.
So for the listening audience, anybody that's watching, yesterday what happened was they had the main courtroom where Rex appears, and then they have what are known as overflow rooms. There was a ton of people there yesterday. I've gone to some of his other court appearances. It's not nearly as crowded, and I knew yesterday it was going to be, just a madhouse. So they had 2 overflow rooms set up. And I believe what wound up happening, and I'm actually kind of glad too, they only allowed in the courtroom the victim's family members,
As they
Asa
should.
Ellerup, Victoria Heuermann, and any of the lawyers that worked the case, any of the police officers, law enforcement that worked the case, and they even brought back retirees that had worked the case and had retired since, the case has been ongoing.
Jimmy Burke?
Decades. So
he should have been standing right up next to the Rex.
Please, yeah. But they had cops that were retired, had since retired before the case got solved. Were
with dignity.
Invited back, yes, yeah. Were invited back and were able to be in that courtroom, which must have been a bittersweet moment for them to be able to see the end. So, and all the
think
hard work
about
that
like
they
the
put
cops that were investigating it, and they were on the right level. Like they wanted it to get done, and then they got it shut down, and then it was cold, and they're getting blamed for whatever the hell happened in those 12 years that it was cold. You know, like those guys were trying to see it through, so they definitely had to feel something too. You know,
sure, absolutely, honorable law enforcement. And there were so many people that were instrumental in law enforcement, working behind the scenes, who maybe don't always get the credit that they deserve. And I know yesterday, Ray Tierney at 2:00, he had gone to Brentwood.
Did you go?
I didn't go, no. I just watched it on TV because I believe it was only open to the media. But Ray Tierney wound up having a press conference at 2:00 yesterday afternoon at, I believe it was police at the police academy in Brentwood. And it was at that time that he had the opportunity to thank his team and everybody that was instrumental in working on the case. And it was good. I don't know.
We're going to get one of these press passes.
Yeah, you give me both. If anyone out there can get me a press pass, please.
I think we deserve it. Like, do they give it to you from like the court?
I think you have to apply for it. And obviously you have to have the right credentials to be able to earn that press pass.
Fucking Tony Walker.
Yeah. But... yeah, so anyway, I wanted to get into just a couple of things. So, get into a little bit of the timeline here. His next court appearance, I believe, was scheduled for, I want to say...
June 17th.
Well, it is, the next one. But what I'm saying is before he pled guilty, I don't know if he was due to appear on April 8th. But what wound up happening was I got the notification from Newsday on Thursday, March 26th, that he was going to be pleading guilty. And... it hit everyone by surprise. But for me, I was like, well, I'm just surprised it took that long.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, 2 weeks later on yesterday, Wednesday the 8th, is when he came into court and he was, he pleaded guilty. And what didn't come as a surprise, but does come as a surprise, was the day before they announced that he was also going to take responsibility for Karen Vergata, which I was very pleased about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because let's be honest, connect the dots. It was so obvious that he had responsibility for Karen Vergata, but I guess they just did not have enough evidence to tie him to that directly, but they kind of knew, given his MO and given, how she was found and the details of her murder, that it just lined up with everything that he, the other murders that he was involved in.
Yep.
So, but a lot of people asked why. Why now? Why plead guilty now, after all this time? And I believe that Michael Brown, his attorney, kind of gave a little bit of an explanation yesterday after after court. He had a press conference outside on the steps of the courthouse, and I think one of the things, and I agree with this, is that Rex wanted to spare his family all the grisly details of his crime. I guess he just didn't want his family to hear that. I can't say that he was sparing any sympathy for the victim's family members, but I think it was mostly he had his family in the forethought of his mind that I don't want them going through this and seeing that side of me, So I think the other thing was, the defense tried every tactic to try and get this case, get the DNA thrown out.
Yeah.
And there were two big motions. There were two devastating rulings for the defense. And one of those was that, Judge Mazzy There was a Fry hearing that the defense tried, to put on, contesting the DNA evidence and that, how it was being tested by this new company. And it was the first time in the state of New York that they were using this kind of genetic genealogy. And, Judge Massey basically allowed all the DNA evidence. So that was a big blow for the defense. And I think the other thing was the defense tried to sever the charges into separate trials, into separate, try each victim separately and or each case separately. And, he refused that. So, I don't know if, maybe Michael Brown sat down with him and said, look, we tried this, it didn't work. We tried this, it didn't work. From my understanding is that, and I wrote this down, that the evidence that they had, we only, the evidence that they presented the public and what they published out there in the media was so minuscule compared to the amount of evidence and
that they really do have.
Yeah, because yesterday it was mentioned in court there was 120 terabytes of data and 117,000 pages of discovery. So, and a lot of that is,
that has to be like...
Yeah. They didn't
an
even
insane amount.
They didn't even get into details about the storage units that he had. So I don't even know what happened in the storage units or what was found in the storage units. The things that we do know about were the burner phones. We know about how the bodies were found, the burlap sacks, the hairs found on the bodies, and everything else. And that's just so minuscule compared to the volumes of data that they must have had on this guy.
Sure.
And the defense probably just turned around and said, look, you want us to go forward and try this case, okay, but, I don't think Brown was giving up. I think he was just kind of laying the cards out on the table, and, maybe he just, Rex Heuermann decided, yeah, I'll just plead guilty, So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I'm trying to, think about the human side of him.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Because after the cameras were turned off and everything, and he said yes to the questions that they were asking, I just saw just a vile, disgusting animal that was so cold and proud of himself almost.
I know.
So I don't see saving his family, because I feel this dude is a true narcissist to the word.
Absolutely.
So I feel like he wants to tell the grisly details. He wants to be the most infamous guy. So maybe now he's going to sit back, talk to the FBI and tell them everything in great detail, because if they found all this evidence, I'm sure if he had a thing how to kill better and dump bodies better.
Yes.
If his manifesto is so detailed that it actually has locations where he dropped all the bodies and stuff, I'm sure they're going to take him out and he's going to show them exactly where he dropped other bodies, because I just don't have a good. Yeah. It's not sitting with me that this is only 8 people that he killed.
Well, that brings me to my next point, which is getting into, yesterday, everyone's kind of confused his pleading guilty to a plea bargain, which are two separate things. So, yes, he pled guilty yesterday. And then people were asking, is there a plea bargain? And, as of before yesterday, I was unaware of whether there was a plea bargain or not. That's something that's, agreed upon between the prosecution and the defense. There was a plea bargain.
But it was a small one, but it was only you can't appeal.
I'm going to get into details of that. Yeah, so there were 10 counts in all. And counts 4 through 6 will be dismissed at the time of sentencing. So I don't know what counts 4 through 6 were, because he didn't really get into detail yesterday about that. But he was guilty on counts 1 through 3 and counts 7 through 10. So the way it worked was he pled guilty to murder in the first degree, otherwise known as murder 1. In the murder of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amanda Lynn Costello. And with that plea of guilty in murder in the first degree, he will get life without the possibility of parole. These murders took place between July of 2009 and September of 2010. And given that it took place during that 24-month, they used the words 24-month time period yesterday in court, the proximity of these murders enabled the prosecution to charge Rex Heuermann with murder 1 counts. Then there were some other charges. He pled guilty to murder in the second degree in the deaths of the murders of Sandra Castilla, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. And for those, he got 25 years to life. And these sentences will run consecutively to each other and also consecutively to the first-degree murder charges of Melissa, Megan, and Amber. With regards to Karen Vergata, it was an 8th murder charge, and I don't think legally, I don't know the legal jargon. I don't know that he was found guilty of that murder, but what happened yesterday in court was he agreed to take responsibility for the murder of Karen. So, but he wasn't given a sentence for that. He just took responsibility for that. So she was kind of, and I apologize for the language, she was kind of lumped in with the other victims. Although she doesn't deserve any less
like a mulligan.
Yeah, but she doesn't deserve any less recognition.
That's
not, yeah.
No.
So in total, he'll get 25 years to life without the possibility of parole on the first 3 murders and 25 years to life on the last 4, all of which is going to run consecutively. So he's
a lot of time.
He's never getting out. And then what you were saying, he also agreed to waive his right to appeal, including he agreed to waive his right to appeal the Fry hearing, the verdict in the Fry hearing. And he's convicted of a felony, and no further prosecution on these 8 victims will take place. But that doesn't mean that there are other victims. So now what happens is, as we said, he's going to go back to court on June 17th for the sentencing. And at that time, I believe, is when his DNA goes into CODIS, which is the index, the FBI index of convicted felons. And then what can happen is he's allegedly, I mean, there's been, he's allegedly been in other states where there are possible murders that he could be tied to. I know South Carolina is one of those states.
Vegas.
Nevada is another state. Yes. And both of those states have the death penalty.
And PA too, right? Pennsylvania?
Yes, I believe.
Or Jersey or something?
Possibly Jersey. I heard Massachusetts.
Yep.
But I know specifically talking about Nevada and South Carolina, those 2 states both have the death penalty. So I don't know if, let's say, if these other state jurisdictions, police jurisdictions, will look into obtaining his DNA.
I'm sure they will.
And, using that DNA to investigate these other murders that he may possibly be tied to. And if that's the case, are they going to extradite him to Nevada? Are they going to extradite him to South Carolina? And if he goes to trial there, will he be found guilty, and couldn't they give him the death penalty? So, that's another thing. So
that'd be
to
wild.
Really consider. Yes. A lot of people in New York, I know, are very upset. There may be people who don't believe in the death penalty, but they feel like if ever there was a time that the death penalty applies, it applies to this one, because he's such a sexual sadist, and it was just awful yesterday sitting in court. And like you said, what happened was the cameras did show before the allocation took place, in which Rex Heuermann had admitted his crimes. He had to answer questions from Judge Mazzy. Basically, he had to, acknowledge to Judge Mazzy that he was fully aware of all the implications of what he was pleading guilty to, and what those, and what that entailed, and that he was doing this of his own free will.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he wasn't promised anything.
Yes. And when he came into court, as he's doing that, they took the handcuffs off because he had to sign some documentation. So you could feel the electricity in the room.
And we weren't even in the room.
We weren't even in the room, but I felt like it was.
No,
like
you
said,
yeah.
Being in that overflow room, you're right. We got to like a front row seat because we got to see him from Judge Mazzy's seat.
We did.
Whereas if we were sitting in the actual courtroom, we would be looking at the back of his head.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, we were in a good place. I mean, the best place you could be in a situation like that.
I know for me, I got very emotional yesterday when Ray Tierney started going through the victims. Yeah,
the first one, when he said it, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting here right now and somebody's actually admitting to this right now. This is it.
And for anyone who wants to know what transpired after, so Judge Mazzy asked questions, and then that was it. Then the camera shut off because Judge Mazzy wouldn't allow any filming at that point on, and it was the allocution, which is where prosecutor, District Attorney Ray Tierney gets up And one by one, he goes through each of the victims' names.
Yeah.
And he talks about it.
I'm never going to forget that.
It was bone-chilling.
Yeah, it was.
Because now you're listening to Rex Heuermann, and he's going through the names. And, the first name that he brought up was Melissa Bartholomew. He went over some details, and then he says to Rex Heuermann, are you responsible for the death of, Melissa Bartholomew? And Rex says yes. And then he has to say, and what was the way in which she was murdered? And just that one word, strangulation. Like, you could hear a pin drop. And it just...
He said it so nonchalantly, too.
Yeah, and for those of you who obviously were not in court yesterday, you had to see the look on his face.
Yeah.
He had like a smile on his face.
Yeah, he had a smirk.
Oh, I mean, that just got to me. And I could feel myself choking up. And you could almost hear the sobs of the victims' family members in that courtroom.
Yeah.
As they're going through it. Strangulation, strangulation.
He said it 8 times.
And mutilation. I mean, it was just, it was awful.
Yeah, the one where I believe it was Valerie Mack. They found part of her in Manaville and then the other part in Gilgo. And like, he was like.
Same with Karen Bergara.
Yeah. And he was just like, did you transport it here? Did you transport it there? And it was just like, at that point, he treated this poor girl like a piece of meat.
I know.
Just a piece of shit that he just threw out on the side of the road and was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take another piece of her and desecrate her, her body and put her somewhere else. Like, it's just an animal.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And I feel myself getting emotional now even talking about it because, the family members are sitting there and having to listen to this. And
yeah.
I will say that I am glad that they were spared going through a trial because they would hear a lot worse and they would hear much more detailed information, and no one should go through that. And not only that, but something else to consider for anyone that really hasn't followed this case. Not all these victims were from New York. I believe that Megan Waterman was from Maine. Melissa Bartholomew, I believe, was from the Buffalo area. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, I believe, from Connecticut. So you have to consider that these families, if there was a trial, that they were going to have to travel from out of state.
Out of their own pocket.
Out of their own pocket, to have to sit there and go through a grisly trial and listen to all that. So in one small way, I'm glad that they were spared that.
And it's not like it happened yesterday. This is 15, 20 years gone by.
That they've been waiting for justice. Well, think about Sandra Castilla. I mean, she was murdered in 1993. You're talking 33 years ago. 33 years to wait for justice, to wait for answers.
That's why it's not just the 8. There's no way.
I know.
This dude's been killing for 40 years.
Oh, well, he definitely
And think about getting back now to Burke. Burke shutting that shit down when he did.
I know.
And it was a 12-year lapse with ghost time.
Yeah.
You think he just was a family man? No.
I know.
He was out doing the same shit, and how much blood is on their hands. So
I can't really speak about what Burke may or may not be guilty of.
I have
my own opinions about it.
Yeah, no.
Everyone's and let's not forget Shannon Gilbert. I have to bring
thought
her
about
into
her.
that. I have to bring her into this discussion.
That poor girl's never going to be found out.
And again, and I always, bring this point home. I always try to bring this point home that it was her mom, Mary Gilbert, that fought for justice for Shannon. And had she not gone to Oak Beach, and had she not pounded on doors, and had she not asked, tried to get validation for her daughter, these other women would have probably never been found. I mean, maybe they would have been found, but not as quickly, after Shannon's murder.
What about,
and I do believe Shannon was murdered. A lot of people out there say, no, she wasn't murdered. She drowned. Listen,
no.
They changed her death certificate to manner of death unknown. Okay? So you can't say that, she drowned.
No way.
I'm sorry.
What,
and
2 inches of water?
Yeah, and her hyoid bone was broken. And she was found behind Dr. Peter Hackett's house. And her clothes were found in one area, and her skeletal remains were found in another.
The phone call from Peter Hackett to the mother.
I know.
That dude was dirty Doc.
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast on him and that whole case. But you know what? You can't talk about Gilgo Beach
without her.
You can't talk about these victims without,
because it was her disappearance that they started looking, and then they found all these others.
Yes. So
yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely tied into it, and hopefully one day we'll get justice for her.
Yeah, and I hope so. And, I think Ray Tierney said that. He's like, this closes one chapter, but, there are other bodies out there in Gilgo Beach, along Ocean Parkway, and our task force is still working very diligently in trying to solve those cases. I mean, I know Asian male doe still has not been identified. And
Peaches, too.
Yeah. No, she was identified.
She was identified,
yes.
But I mean, like, they still don't know.
Yeah, there is one suspect, but, that's still being investigated, and I know that has gone to court in the Nassau County court system.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I forget her name, Titania or something, right?
Yeah, yes. But yeah, I just, I know this kind of closes the chapter on Rex Heuermann, but I feel like there are still so many unanswered questions that still need to be explored.
Nah, I think he's gonna start talking to them, and I think it's gonna.
Oh yes, well that
more.
was another thing. Part of his plea deal, for those that don't know, is that he actually has to sit down with the FBI Behavioral Science Unit. And they're going to do some studies with him on what motivated him to murder.
Clary stalling stuff.
That was part of the plea deal. So it'll
Good.
be interesting to see what comes out. Comes out of that. I'm just wondering because questions come up like he pled guilty. What is he getting for this? Is he going to go to like Club Fed? Where he's
not going to last in a general population.
Well,
setting.
Absolutely not. I mean, he's going to go to a prison in the state of New York. Where he's going to go, I'm not sure. No. Maybe he's trying to bargain to go to a prison. Maybe that's closer to where his family is. But he is definitely not going to be, in the population because
there's no way.
Like
he's
it or
too
not,
high profile,
and he has rights. I mean, as much as I hate to say that, they have the penal system has a code of ethics where they are required to protect him, and whether they like it or not, I mean, they can turn around and turn a blind eye, but they can't put him in with the general population right now because
he definitely can get attacked. He can definitely get attacked by they take a break or something.
Yes, yeah.
But you know what? Also, his health is not in the best.
Screw him. I don't care.
So
sorry.
Do you think he's going to last that long in there anyway? Either way, with his health
he gets free health care, which is more than some people in this country get because he committed 8 murders and now he gets to go to prison and now he gets the health care in prison.
That's great.
Yeah, that's real justice. So I don't know. I just it's infuriating. So yeah, but anyway. But anything else you wanted to add to that, or just?
I just keep thinking about it. Certain things from yesterday just keep on replaying in my head.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I couldn't sleep the night before.
Neither could I.
And it's funny because I talk to other people who I'm close with who have followed this case as much as I have. Like none of us could sleep the night before. No. How could you? You were talking to Alexis Linkletter. I know she was in court. She was sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And for anybody that doesn't know her,
very nice.
She did a great podcast on Unraveled, and she's really covered the case. And my understanding is she's also writing a book on this case as well.
She is.
So, yeah. So I like Alexis. I had the opportunity to meet her at CrimeCon and in 2022 in Las Vegas. And if anybody that doesn't know her, please Google her name. She's got a podcast out there. I know her first podcast was called Unraveled. I don't know if her other podcast goes by the same name now, but
I think it does.
Yeah, but she does a lot. She's done a lot of work with working with law enforcement.
I'll pull it up right now. I'll tell you.
And so.
She
flew in from California, I know, the day before, and she's like, between the jet lag and not being able to sleep, she's like, I'm going on like 24 hours, and so it's kind of crazy. But one of the things I'd like to mention is at the press conference yesterday at 2:00 in Brentwood at the Police Academy. It was great hearing from the victims' family members.
Yeah, it was.
It gave them a sense of, being able to have a voice and being able to speak to the public for, the first time, and they all agreed.
One of them said something very profound. I believe it was the sister of.
Are you talking about? Oh, I believe that you're talking about Melissa Bartholomew's mom, where she kind of yelled at the.
No, it wasn't her.
Okay, Missy Khan. Missy
Kahn.
Yes, Missy Kahn is the sister of Maureen Brainerd Bowles.
That's her.
And she, a lot of these victims' family members are represented by Gloria Allred. She's a famous lawyer. But I know at the end, Missy Kahn got up to the podium and she just gave the most heartfelt words. And she spoke not only for her sister, Maureen, but she spoke for all the victims. And for anybody that did not get to see it, I did post it on my Facebook page. I posted on my my True Crime Obsession. And you can also download it through Suffolk County District Attorney has a YouTube page. You can find it there as well. But she just her words were
it was
so
very nice,
endearing.
Yeah, and the daughter of Megan.
Oh, I don't know if Megan's daughter spoke. So
it was one of the daughters. She was in a. They did a documentary with like the family members, and it was like she was a light-skinned black girl.
Okay, Megan Waterman's daughter. Yeah.
So I think it was Megan Waterman's daughter.
Okay.
But she was there. She spoke, and she was just like, it's justice for my mom. She was she was a baby when it happened. How do you not?
If that doesn't get to you, I don't know what does. Because these women, a lot of them were mothers and had children of their own.
I just love that they had their day. Honestly, these girls were forgotten about. They didn't. No one gave a shit when they were found. They're like, oh, you know what? It was just another prostitute or a whore or whatever. But
that's the thing, and I hate that. Like,
it sucks.
Melissa Bartholomew's mother got up. She had said to the audience, she's like, I am sick and tired of you referring to our daughters as sex workers, as hookers, because they were so much more than that.
Yeah.
And that's the narrative that has to stop. I mean, if we don't learn anything from this case, I hope people learn that one thing that, these women were, okay, this is what they did, but this is not encompassing who they were.
No.
A lot of these women came from, very poor families. They
Absolutely.
were looking for ways to make money. I'm not, saying it's right or it's wrong, but, they are not defined by their job. I hope nobody would define me by my job or you by your job. There's so much more. I mean, and I hate when they use words like that. And
it sucks.
A lot of the advocates, a lot of the crime victims' rights advocates are also upset. Valerie Mack's picture that they've been using a lot is her
mugshot,
right? I'm sorry, that's just so wrong. It's so disrespectful.
Look at her, like in the picture, that looks like a troubled girl.
Yeah, and it's
terrible.
Disrespectful. You couldn't find another picture. You had to use that one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, that's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, I sat in the audience. Sarah Farrow was a friend of Jasmine, who was the cousin of Jessica Taylor, one of the victims. She was sitting with us yesterday in the courtroom. I mean, you're sitting amongst family members and friends and loved ones, and just show some respect. I mean,
see that picture that you shared up there.
Yes.
That's a good picture to show of her.
Yeah.
And even the Karen Vergado one, that's not. That's what is that like?
I know.
And she's like 14 years old.
Yes, unfortunately,
I
didn't have another picture of her that I could have used, and
No, I'm not saying about you. But that's the only picture I really ever saw of her.
But yeah, it's awful. But I just want to kind of close up today. I'd like to say each of their names. And I just like to, I had posted something on Facebook and I'd like to read it, and I apologize for looking down and reading this, but I just, it's just my thoughts.
It was nice.
Yes, I'm going to read it again. You
definitely should read it.
So, it's, while I feel that while some might view this expected guilty plea as closure, we must remember that for the families and the loved ones of Sandra, Karen, Valerie, Jessica, Maureen, Melissa, Megan, and Amber, true closure is an impossibility. These women are no longer here, and their absence leaves a void that no courtroom confession can fill. The pain and suffering their families have endured and has spanned decades, and this kind of grief doesn't have an expiration date. So, yesterday may have marked the end of a long, dark chapter, but it also serves as a somber reminder of a larger ongoing epidemic of violence. These women deserve so much more than the fate they met, and their legacies must not be defined by the way they died, but by the lives that they lived and the people who loved them. So if you say a prayer tonight, I ask that you please say one for each and every one of them and say their names and honor their memories. Sandra Castilla, Karen Vergata, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Amberlynn Costello. Because yesterday was not about Rex Heuermann. Yesterday was about them. And let's please remember them, and please keep them, their family, their loved ones in your thoughts and prayers always. Thank you, guys. This is my True Crime Obsession checking out. Have a great night.
Artlist.io